SimOP here from Beard, Biceps and Batchat. Today we're going to look at the second tank from the Valkyria Chronicles, that is the Edelweiss. Edelweiss? Hopefully I'm saying that. If someone knows better than me, put it in the comment section below and let me know so I don't make a fool of myself pronouncing it. Now, if I was going to describe this tank in one word, I would call it a bandit, a rogue, a rascal. As I'm going through the review, you'll see why I used those words to describe this tank. The main thing I noticed about this tank is it looks like an elephant, like a mole or something. An elephant mole, maybe? It's just the front of the tank and the gun mantlet just there. It just looks a little funky. But yeah, it's a pretty looking tank, very pretty looking tank actually. With this review, there's going to be a couple of times I'm going to compare this against what I think its closest, I suppose, tank similar to it, which is the Japanese medium tier A STA-2. They're both fairly lightly armoured tanks with good guns, so it'll be good because that's available for about 7,900 gold coins with preferential matchmaking, so it's a good comparison. And should help us to figure out whether this tank is worth it or not. So initially, the first thing we want to look at this tank is the DPM. It is absolutely insane. Well, not insane, it's good. It's almost on par with the Nameless. It's about 2,000. This is 1920. The SDA2's got exactly the same DPM of 1920. The sort of lackluster bit with this tank is the penetration. 195 mils of penetration. You're going to have moments where you are going to be pressing X and you're gonna be firing premium, and that's really gonna dip into how profitable this tank is, just because sometimes you're gonna need that extra little bit of oomph just to get through. The damage on this tank, pretty standard, 240 alpha damage. The alpha damage on the SDA2 again is 240, but the SDA2 gets 212 millimeters of pen, so potentially you're pressing X a little bit less in the SDA2. The rate of fire, again, is pretty much exactly the same between the two tanks, 8 rounds a minute, so you're pumping out a lot of shots. Your reload's about 6.5 seconds, so it's really good. The only sort of things that I'd be wary of, which are a little bit unusual for medium tanks, is the ammunition on the tanks. So the velocity of these shells is actually not that great. In fact, it's pretty shocking. On the normal rounds, it is literally 150 meters squared, so again, hitting targets at range is going to be problematic. APCR is only 1,050 meters squared. Again, with other tier 8 premiums such as the Fardland, it's almost 1,500 meters per second. So it can be a little bit painful to hit moving targets. Now, the gun itself may shock you a little bit. So obviously real time 7.5 seconds, as we said. Aim time 2.3 seconds. That's a little bit longer than I'd like. The SDA2 is about 2.1 aim time. The dispersion it's not great for a medium. This is what threw me off a little bit initially. It's 0.38. The SDA2 on the other hand is 0.37. So it's fairly similar in that respect. What it does have though is 8 degrees of gun depression. If you have played the Nameless and thought you had 8 degrees of gun depression, which we've seen in my previous game that I thought I had, this is very welcome on this tank, and it lets you get into a lot of very interesting positions and take advantage of the armor, which we'll touch on a little bit. So the other very good thing about this tank is the mobility on this tank. So this can comfortably reach 60 kilometers per hour. The horsepower on this tank is 800. Now this is a 34-ton tank. I know I said the Nameless was 34,000 tons. I wasn't well. It wasn't a good day. Just a slight mistake. 34-ton tank. The power to rate ratio is 25.03, so it's really good. Going forward in a straight line, you got no problems reaching your top speed, as you'll see in the video afterwards. Moving around a little bit can be a little bit painful. It can really sort of drain your speed off, so it's just something to be aware of. And again, we have that beautiful fire chance of 10%. So this gives you the ability to run this tank without a fire extinguisher. Maybe you want to use food, maybe you want to use a premium and a normal repair kit with it, but you have the option with this tank, which is very nice. Now onto the armour. The armour on this tank isn't that bad. It's 120mm on the hull, 120mm on the turret, 60 on the side, 60 on the side of the turret. It's 60 on the back, 60 on the back of the turret as well. You know, it's not crazy. This actually has, believe it or not, the same armour as the T-54, 120mm. but the T-54 is very well angled. This tank is not very well angled at all, so even at this sort of angle, 100 and, if I do my maths right, 160 millimeters, that should go through without any problem. Yeah, exactly, 160 millimeters will penetrate the front, even angled, and a lot of tier 7s and 8s have access to that, so they will go straight through the front without any problem. Again, compared to the SDA2 though, the SDA2, the whole armour is 45 on the front, 35 on the sides, 25 on the back, 70 on the turret, 60 on the side of the turret, 35 on the back of the turret. So this is more heavily armoured and faster than the SDA2. So there will be times where you get to take advantage of that, and there will be some freaky auto bounces. So don't be afraid to play for that, don't be afraid to go hold down, use that 8 degrees of gun depression, just show them the front of the tank. You may get some bounces and you really may surprise yourself. So this tank, just another couple of little bits about it, has about 1400 health. That's fairly average across the tier 8 mediums. 390 view range, actually quite nice, so you're able to set this tank up with optics, view range skill, and you become quite a good little scout tank. Well, not scout, but scout and medium. Now you also get the permanent camo, which is giving you an increase in your camo ability straight away without having to pay. Well, I say without having to pay for it. You are paying for it, but you get that straight away. So you can make this quite a good little scout tank. So it's, you know, it's definitely worth thinking about setting it up like that. That's pretty much the sort of the rundown of the stats, the comparison to the SDA2. SDA2 has slightly better penetration, this is better armour and better speed. The SDA2 has slightly better soft gun stats. But the major thing the SDA2 has is preferential matchmaking. Personally, this is my favourite tank out of this and the Nameless. I think I got my mastery in my 3rd game with this, which is what I'm going to show you next. So it's a really fun tank. Really enjoyed it. Is it one to pick up? Yeah, I'd say why not. You know, if your missus kicks off, tell her to comment in the section below. I'll have a word and I'll let her know, do you know what, he needs this. This will bring in some fun, this will bring us some joy. He's got some mole elephant tank with funky armour and a funky crew voice. He deserved this. He's worked hard. Now we're going to move on to some gameplay just so you can see how it actually works in action, and if it plays how I think it will, as a mobile rascal taking shots and using its DPM to influence key areas of the battlefield. But let's move on to that. Now I've lowered the game volume this time. I know there's a problem on the Nameless replay with it, so hopefully the crew voice doesn't drive everyone absolutely crazy. So here we are in a tier 8 matchup on Ghost Town. With mediums, generally, if I'm in the north spawn, I'll push down the 9-0 line, and I'll look to push to the hill that is on J9, sit behind there, use my view range to pick on tanks that have come along the south of town. From there I'll push on to J8, just at the edge of the cliff, just to poke round to see if I can spot the TDs that are sometimes sitting on K3. So I'm in full rascal game mode at the minute. I'm ready to do some damage, hopefully. Now it's important to note at this point, I don't have a Japanese crew in there apart from the one that the tank comes with, so I have no sixth sense, so I'm having to play very cautiously, whereas this chap might have sixth sense. He's another Edelweiss. Hopefully he's got a better crew in his tank than I do, or hopefully he's a little bit braver than I am, because I'm playing quite cautiously at this point just to see if my sixth sense goes off. Now one of the interesting things is the voiceover actually kicks in before the detected comes up. It's not 100%, but I was getting a little bit of awareness of when I was being spotted. You can play without sixth sense if you're aware in situations where you should be spotted and where the enemy team should be. But around this location, I'm fairly comfortable because that Edelweiss is pushing aggressively. He's going to light up the hill for me and hopefully just start flinging shots onto the top of the hill and just unleashing my DPM. First shot, if we manage to bounce one, it's like I said before, you can play for it. You will bounce some shots, so put a shot in the M103 just to track him in place, either to make him use his repair kit. What I was hoping to do was actually take out the front drive wheel, so it did some physical damage as well. There's the second shot. Again, that's just to keep him in place because I can see my teammates are piling shots into him. There's the third shot. We're just going to keep chasing him, not let him get away. We've been spotted, so I've got to decide whether it's worthwhile getting another shot in or will I eat a shot in return? So I'm being very cautious here that I can get a shot in the M103, but the tanks on the hill on K3 can't get shots back at me. So again, front drive wheel, managed to get the ammo rack as well. Everyone's piling shots into this M103. I've not had to use premium yet. Last shot into him takes him out. Now it's at this point they've got this little chap just running around, just doing all sorts. I don't know what he's doing. The Vengeance looks pretty happy up there. I don't care. I don't care. I don't think he cares that he's spotted. He's got his CDC mate trying to push him into cover, or push him into fire, who knows. The Vengeance is literally just sitting there. There goes the CDC. What sort of game is this? No wonder I got a mastery. We put the Lek shot into him and the Vengeance dies. Then we start hunting for the CDC. I'm not saying he's a special player, but potentially his gameplay could be improved by not running into his teammates and throwing himself off a cliff. I don't know. Just an independent analysis. Again, just hunting down the CDC, put one shot into him. Just going to use our speed just to distract him from the tank in front. We bounce another shot on our armour. He's taken out. Now it's at this point the red team has sort of consolidated around the 2-3-4 line. Of course I'm not going to miss a chance to shoot the RT. There's the first shot into the RT. He misses his return shot. I am a scumbag. I cannot believe I stopped to kill the RT. Oh well, it's happened now. So they've congregated around the 2-3 line. And I've got to decide whether I want to deal with this Waffenträger. I reckon I can get a shot into him without eating a shot in return, or at least tempt him to take a shot. Now unfortunately it just goes straight into the side of the building. He's got his leopard pal helping him out, so I can't push on him. What I'm going to try to do instead is hope the Waffenträger is happily putting shots into this tank in front of me to let me get some shots into him. So again, a couple of weak spots on the Waffenträger. Pretty much the entire tank. There is not a lot of armour on that tank at all. So all you need to do is pretty much auto aim, click, bang. Just tickle his turret, take the gun out. He's not out of the game, but he's a one shot. There's no point chasing him around because they've still got a fair amount of tanks left that can do damage. The game's not over. They're not in a great position, but they're not in a terrible position. So I need to decide if I want to push on this leopard or get into a position where I can provide support and fire onto the red heavies on the other side of this ramp on the right hand side of me. I initially decided to go for the leopard, push up, auto aim a shot into him, bang. I come off far worse in that exchange. I really don't want to sort of take a shot from him again. So when the CS3 pushes rounds to deal with him, I think perfect, he sunk a shot. Potentially take out this STI, it ain't going to happen. I'm surprised I've still not pressed premium ammunition yet, but I must have a lot of faith in this tank. So what I've decided to do is that IS-3 is pretty safe there. He doesn't particularly need my help. He can deal with the Leopard and the STI. They're both almost one hits for him. What I want to do is see if I can do some damage to this E75. First shot bounces off. There I go. Switch straight to the premium. I've obviously had a little mini rage to myself and decided this guy is dying. But I just can't get a bead on the E75. I try, but it's just going straight above him. I'm eating shots. That'll be from the Leopard again. If it was a Waffenträger, it probably would have killed me. I think I'm a one hit for him. But the rest of the team have pretty much cleared up the rest of the guys at this point, and it's just about getting as much damage as possible just to get the mastery. Now, because this tank's been released fairly recently, getting a mastery isn't particularly difficult. So don't be too impressed when you see it, just because there aren't many people playing it. So we fluffed the shot on the SDI. In my head, I was swinging around the corner, using my handbrake and putting a shot into him, setting him on fire, getting the kill. Did not happen that way. So we're going to look to do the last shot into the Leopard, take him out. Now hopefully this highlights what I've said about playing this tank. You're just looking to relocate and to use your DPM in the place where it's needed most. In this case it was going along the bottom line initially, then moving into the town to provide support and fire to the heavier tanks. 3,300 damage, 1,000 assisted, there's a mastery, 105,000 silver because we didn't dip into the premium ammunition too much, just for once. I hope you're enjoying the content, guys. I hope you like the channel. Please like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts on what you prefer, whether it's a nameless or the Edelweiss. Edelweiss? Edelweiss. Either way, I'll catch you next time.